Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to dive into a critical and complex issue, the impact of Brexit on the European Union. Specifically, we'll be looking at how Brexit has reshaped relationships within the EU and altered the policies of its member states. Even though the UK officially left the EU in 2020, the ripple effects continue to shape Europe's political, economic and social landscape to date. So let's break it down step by step. When the UK officially exited the European Union on January 31st in 2020, it marked a historic moment. For the EU, this wasn't just about losing a member state. It was about adjusting to a new reality without one of the biggest economies of the EU and most powerful political voices. In the short term, Brexit led to uncertainty. EU member states had to grapple with what the UK's departure meant for trade, movement, and their own relationships with one another. There was a need to quickly adapt, both in terms of policy and strategy. Some countries, like Ireland and the Netherlands, were particularly hard hit due to their close trading relationships with the UK. Germany, as the EU's largest economy, also faced disruptions, particularly in its automotive and manufacturing sectors. So right from the beginning, Brexit wasn't just a UK issue, it was a problem for the entire EU. The economic relationship between the UK and the EU was always going to be the biggest challenge. Pre-Brexit, the UK was one of the EU's largest trading partners. Post-Brexit, this trade had to be redefined, leading to new regulations, tariffs, and complications at the borders. One of the most immediate impacts was the EU's need to recalibrate its internal economic strategy. The EU had to find new ways to strengthen trade relationships internally, while also boosting ties with non-EU countries. France, for example, increased its push for stronger relationships with countries like Germany and Italy to maintain economic stability. Furthermore, the EU initiated discussions about increasing self-sufficiency in key sectors like agriculture, energy, and technology. Brexit served as a wake-up call, reminding the EU that overdependence on any one country for trade or industry can lead to vulnerabilities. And the result? A pivot towards creating stronger trade alliances within the EU itself and beyond. Countries like Ireland were quick to seek new trade routes within the bloc, while larger economies like Germany and France took the lead in shaping a future where Europe would be less reliant on the UK. Brexit also brought about significant institutional and policy changes. The EU was forced to reconsider its immigration policies, its budget contributions, and its approach to security and defense. But let's start with immigration. The UK had long been resistant to the EU's free movement of people, which was a major point of contention leading up to Brexit. With the UK no longer part of the Union, member states had to rethink their own policies around migration. Countries like France and Germany took this opportunity to push for greater cooperation on border control and asylum policies, but with the UK gone, the balance of power shifted. And then there's the budget. The UK was one of the biggest net contributors to the EU budget. Its departure left a significant hole, one that the remaining member states had to fill. This led to heated debates about budget priorities. Countries like Poland and Hungary, which are net recipients of EU funds, argued for maintaining strong cohesion policies to support economic development. And meanwhile, wealthier nations like Germany and the Netherlands pushed for stricter fiscal responsibility. And finally, on defense and security, Brexit removed the UK, a major military power, from the EU strategic discussions. As a result, countries like France began advocating for increased EU defense capabilities independent of NATO. There was a new focus on European autonomy in defense and security, which had been a long-running debate, but was now more urgent than ever. And Brexit also reshaped the political dynamics within the EU. The UK had often been seen as a counterbalance to the Franco-German alliance, which is the core driving force of the EU. With the UK gone, Germany and France became even more central to decision-making in the bloc. However, this also created friction. Countries in Eastern Europe, particularly Poland and Hungary, have started to challenge the dominance of the Western powers. The EU has seen a growing divide between Western liberal democracies and more conservative nationalist governments in the East. Without the UK, these tensions have become more pronounced, at least. As a result, we've seen a greater focus on enforcing the rule of law and democratic principles within the Union, with Brussels taking a tougher stance against countries that are perceived as backsliding on democratic norms. But now let's talk about the EU's future without the UK. While Brexit certainly caused disruptions, it also created opportunities. The EU has begun discussing ways to make the bloc more cohesive and indeed resilient. There has been a renewed focus on fostering stronger internal ties, developing new trade agreements, and strengthening the EU's political institutions. Looking ahead, the EU will likely continue its path toward deeper integration, focusing on creating a more unified approach to issues like climate change, digital transformation, and foreign policy. And without the UK's traditionally skeptical stance, these initiatives may gain more traction. Brexit was undoubtedly a seismic event for the EU, reshaping its policies, relationships, and future direction. But it's clear that the EU has taken this as an opportunity to strengthen its internal bonds and adjust to a new global landscape. How this will play out in the long term remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure. The EU has proven resilient in the face of major challenges. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more insights into global politics. See you next time. The next video is right here in the end screen.